Welcome to your Daily Detroit. This is your show for Thursday, February 26th, 2026. I am Jer Stays. Today, we're talking about the future of Midtown, getting details on that new Chinatown project, and a whole lot more with the executive director of Midtown Detroit, Inc. You'll learn a lot about this series of Detroit neighborhoods in this conversation and what's ahead for an area of Detroit so many people have so many connections to. But first, let's pay some bills. In my mind, there's a one choice for roofing around here, and I'd go with your best choice. Whether it's time to replace your roof or repair it, Best Choice Roofing provides top-notch roofing services tailored to meet the unique needs of Detroit area homes and businesses. They serve the region and inside the city of Detroit, too. And let me tell you, as a longtime city resident, finding a good contractor in the city is a hard thing to do, but they'll take care of you wherever you're located in the region. So check these guys out. Find out more at bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit. That's bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit, or call 313-474-7031. That's 313-474-7031. Joining me at the table at Tech Town, a guest I'm very excited to have here on Daily Detroit. It has been far too long. I don't know why you haven't been on the show until now. Melanie Markowicz, the executive director of Midtown Detroit, Inc. There's so much we can talk about. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to finally be here.
Yeah. So the reason that I wanted to get in touch at first was to talk about this Chinatown project that's happening right over there at Cass and Peterborough. We're going to get into a lot more. It's going to be a wider conversation. But why don't we start kind of on the news hook of for people, what exactly is happening? What are the ideas? And what is the role that Midtown Inc. is playing in this?
Sure. So this week, we unveiled the final design concepts for the Peterborough Streetscape project. So this is a streetscape project in what is historically Detroit's old Chinatown. And this is located in South Cass Corridor, or Lower Cass Corridor if you prefer. Just, blocks away from Brush Park, from Little Caesars Arena, and also the Masonic Temple. So this is traditionally where, the Chinese American community grounded. It was actually the second Chinatown in the city of Detroit. And so our organization is going to be redeveloping the streetscape and safeguarding all of the historical assets that still remain in that streetscape. So it's a project that's really about identity, supporting the community, small business, first and foremost, updating failing, public infrastructure. But we're really excited to kick this off. And it's really interesting how this kind of project came to be. In 2023, a building on Cass Avenue that once housed the Chinese Merchants Association was demolished. And there was, uproar from, the Chinese American community that once called this place, this community home about that demolition. While the building was ultimately lost, what it did do was galvanize interest in this historic community and also galvanized interest and enthusiasm with the business and property owners who had already been investing there for many, many years. So with the support of Senator Stephanie Chang, in 2024, our organization, Midtown Detroit, Inc., was awarded a $1 million grant from the state of Michigan to kickstart this project. And so during 2025, we did pre-development planning. We did all kinds of community engagement, public meetings, public surveys. We had an activation event at the Chinatown Block Party. And so this weekend, we unveiled the final design. So the site plans, the renderings, the ideas about, public art and engagement, how we're going to upgrade the streetscape and really, safeguard and tell the story of the community.
So why now? What about this makes it an inflection point? Because I've been down there for many years. The Detroit Shipping Company has a bunch of great stuff that happens over there. You've got the Peterborough Restaurant. There's Craig's Coffee. There's the rehab of the old Chung's building, which is super cool. I am barely old enough to have actually gone to Chung's before it closed.
Oh, wow.
So I have memories from back in the day. My dad actually used to live in Plum Street, near the old Chinatown before the whole lodge and everything. So it's an area I know pretty well, but it's an area that there's a lot of potential there, but there's still just so much to do. So why focus on the streetscape now? And honor this community that, I was talking to some listeners. There were some listeners that didn't even realize that we had such a vibrant Chinatown community in Detroit not that long ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second Chinatown really, came to be in the 1960s. But by the early 2000s, that very active business and residential area, kind of faded away with that ethnic culture. And, now we have this deep interest in that culture. And for the few remaining things that are still there, we want to be sure that we're safeguarding them, that we're telling the story of this community. And so your question is, why now? So there is so much development and redevelopment happening in the South Cass corridor and throughout Midtown. So we've got new residential projects, new businesses, reinvestment in longstanding properties. And the question is not whether it's going to grow, it's how it's going to grow. And whether that growth really incorporates the soul and heritage of the existing community and also former communities in a way that is not recreating an old Chinatown, but rather reinvigorating the space for today, for the future, for walkability, for activation, and also having a way to tell the story of the community that once was there. The rehabilitation of the Chung's building was completed by American community developers. It's a wonderful redevelopment and hospitality opportunity for hopefully, a restaurant of some kind. Our organization helped with a facade grant for that project. So there's a lot of activity in that, block or two there with small businesses. But if you zoom out, only one block away, you have Brush Park, which has seen just tremendous development and redevelopment, in the last 10 years. You have Little Caesars Arena, Masonic Temple. You've got the Henry Street redevelopment coming through. And then you have a lot of activity, even in the North Cass corridor happening, particularly in the Selden in Second corridor. So we see this as a natural inflection point where it's an opportunity to connect the South Cass corridor with, downtown, with Brush Park, with the Cass corridor, and have the old Chinatown and Peterborough specifically really serve as a vibrant anchor. So we're really excited to get that project started. So, it's really about identity. It's going to grow. We're coordinating development. We're coordinating public infrastructure. And so there's a lot going on in the background with opportunity and development plans, but we really need that solid infrastructure and activation, and the opportunity to celebrate the culture there is just tremendous. Like the Chinatown Block Party last year was slammed. It was so cool.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to go. I was out of town, but I regret that because I had so many friends who went and really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. To be sure, this is something that kind of plagues different parts of Detroit too, that there's a really good thing happening over here, but there's a block or two or something where that connective tissue isn't quite there. There hasn't been the ability maybe to, really knit the rest of that together as it should in an urban space. So how do you see that role with what Midtown Inc. is doing? I know that historically Midtown Inc. has had their hands in a number of projects throughout the area.
That's quite right. So the founder, Sue Mosey, retired a couple years ago, and I was brought on almost a year ago to take her place. And over the last, pretty much since 2018, the organization has been going through a very deliberate change in its scope and function. We used to be heavily involved in real estate development. There was a time and place when in Midtown you couldn't get developers to invest. You couldn't get a capital stack together. Banks didn't want to finance. And so Midtown Detroit played an active role as developer, co-developer, helping people with their capital stack. And so we were just in the thick of it and owned and operated several buildings. Through a concerted plan hatched in 2018, we have largely divested from our real estate portfolio. So last year, we completed the sale of our final building asset. And so we no longer are in the business of directly developing buildings. We do, however, still retain a lot of our park and public space properties. So the organization is shifting to public space, programming, maintenance, obviously always supporting small business, facade improvements, and organizing and coordinating development through communities, through urban planning, master planning, and doing projects just like this for streetscapes, connectivity, and ensuring that we're representing the community, the culture, and the best interests.
there was a ton of development done in that era, but I remember from covering it, had a very hands-on role, but it is much more of a traditional role to be the plus one, as you're kind of describing.
Yeah.
So what are some of the specific plus ones that you do that people might not know about?
Well, we have a facade improvement program. So through that program, we've helped over 100 properties improve the exterior of their buildings. So facade improvements are huge, really impactful, but we do a lot of things that people may not know about. We do landscaping maintenance for over 3 square miles of the city of Detroit through 9 neighborhoods, supporting over 20,000 residents and hundreds of small businesses.
Okay, you say 9 neighborhoods. For those who might not know, why don't we talk about those neighborhoods that are kind of in that umbrella? Because, people come down, they get dinner or whatever, and they're like, I went to the old Miami, I'm in Midtown, right? Like that's their view of it.
Yeah.
Let's get a little into the weeds. What does that 9 neighborhoods look like?
Yeah, so their stewardship is really large. So you have, and I'm just going to name them in order from south going north. You've got Brush Park, the South Cass Corridor, North Cass Corridor, Medical Center, Wayne State University campus, Cultural Center, otherwise known as Art Center, New Center, Techtown area, parts of Milwaukee Junction, and also Virginia Park. So it is, it goes many miles of territory. It's massive.
And that's actually larger than the downtown core area, which I think is right around like a square mile or something like that.
Yes, it's much larger.
I mean, obviously, everyone's got their own view of downtown, right? Yeah. A lot of people say, well, it's all downtown. But when we're talking about the organizations that kind of help coordinate things, each has their kind of group.
Steward of public space.
Yes, and that's so interesting. So to me, is this a situation where, like I've seen with some other organizations, and something I think is important to share with listeners is that you all take on an amount of work that kind of helps the city be able to take its resources and put them in other places. Because I think there's a big misconception, especially when I'm out on the streets or I'm talking on social media. People say, Midtown looks great because the city of Detroit, the government only cares about Midtown or downtown. But that's not really how it's the meme, like the grandmas in that you'll see online. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So, as far as, some of the stewardship that you would think that maybe would be publicly funded is funded and operated by our organization. We take care of 10 public parks. We take care of all the medians on Woodward Avenue through our geography, all the medians on West Grand Boulevard from Woodward all the way on over to Churchill. We take care of medians on 2nd. We take care of the Midtown Greenway Loop, which traverses 3 neighborhoods. And then we also have 6 green alleys that we steward, and developed as well. So there is a huge scope. In addition to that, we do trash removal, dog waste removal, and public cleaning of over 40 miles of public streetscape.
There are cities in this metro area that don't serve that much area.
That is correct. It is larger than the city of Hamtramck.
That's crazy.
Yes.
That's crazy. I'm going to sit with that for a second. All right. So you say there's been a change in recent years, moving from development to other things. Let's talk about 2026 and ahead. What are some of the things that you are looking forward to, kind of goals, excited about, and that the public should know about in this umbrella cluster of neighborhoods?
Yes, absolutely. So in addition to, really leaning into our public space and maintenance, some of the exciting projects that we're, just really jazzed about is obviously Peterborough Streetscape will be fundraising this year with potential construction next year. And then we're going through a rebranding project for our organization and also the neighborhoods to really have the organization, represent in a different way with the kind of shift of the organization and scope. We think it's really important that our branding and our vibe, represents, our really soulful community. It's so different than other neighborhoods. So, we have great events like upcoming Nain Rouge, Dalling the Alley, these long-standing community-driven events, and Noel Night, too. And we want to make sure that we're involving local artists, that it's fun, approachable, and, really speaks to the culture and history of these 9 neighborhoods.
So if somebody's looking at, say, visiting Midtown or moving to the greater kind of Midtown area, what are some things that they should know that maybe they wouldn't know, or surprising things that you're like, hey, you really seem to love and care about this a lot. Like you're passionate about this. It doesn't seem like you're the kind of person who's stepped into this job and it's like, well, I'm going to be here for 6 months and on and on. So what is it that you would like to tell people that maybe they don't know about the area and what to think about?
Well, I'm particularly excited about the New Center area right now, in the wider New Center area. So some might be aware, some may not be aware that there's a project called the Future of Health coming our way. It is a $3 billion investment led by Henry Ford Hospital, Pistons, and MSU. And it is major. It's not only going to develop a new hospital across from the historical Henry Ford Hospital, but research facilities, new residential development, and it's right next to the Pistons Center as well, Performance Center. In addition to that $3 billion investment, if you look at all the other development in the pipeline, recently finished or in the planning stages, in the immediate footprint, you have an additional $1 billion of real estate development. So that is huge. Change is coming. And for us as the local community development organization, we're really excited to help coordinate what that development looks like, especially as it pertains to the public realm, the public streetscape. So, New Center area is really concrete. We need trees. We need beautification. We need ADA sidewalks, like the fundamentals of, lighting, beautiful, walkability. Also places of discovery and art, and ensuring that as these neighborhoods grow and redevelop in some new ways with some new property owners and anchors, that the people who are there are not displaced, that they get to stay there, that they get to be a part of authoring what the community looks like moving into the future, so that we can coordinate and help entrepreneurs and small businesses. We can improve the public streetscape. We can kind of coordinate in between these developments. Is there a synergy? Can we connect to greenways? So there's a lot of partners that would be involved in an effort like this. And so we're super excited to kind of, kick off what that planning effort should look like.
And it's good to involve residents. And I look at it as somebody who's been going to that area for a long time, or I'll even go up to the coffee shop in the Fisher building. I'll walk from the studio.
Oh, yeah.
And you go through the streets like this is cool, but this could be there's so much more that's possible when I think about the different side streets, or I take a walk even from here over to Northern Lights or something. There's just so much that is good, but also like I think about as the urban streetscape, the trees, there's so much more that could be done, I think.
Yes, absolutely. So we definitely need improvements to, greening and public streetscape. And we own and operate some public parks in the area as well, Virginia Park, Pallister Park, and also New Center Park, which many may know is the place where we showed movies for years. That park is soon to be undergoing improvements and renovations and repairs. So you'll be hearing soon about what that could look like. We're really excited to reactivate that space because there's no reason that we should not be there right now having it's kind of cold outside, but a cup of coffee or, in the evening, a beer and a snack with friends. It's a great location. We want to make sure that that is usable almost every day of the week and open to the public and activated with some sort of food and beverage and having free programming as well.
I can testify to that because years ago, I remember when there was an Avalon spot in there for a little bit. And I remember there being some programming, and it was just so cool to grab a bite to eat. The windows on the Avalon would open up to Grand Boulevard. There's something happening, and it was really exciting. And it was really kind of heartbreaking when it went away.
Yeah.
And so I can say that if you haven't experienced this, and you probably haven't if you've been here shorter than 6 or 7 years, because it's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
It's magical. It's magical. And there's a lot that you don't even know how cool it could be.
Yes. No, I'm super excited to, help author what that looks like with the community. And also there's going to be changes even in public infrastructure in the New Center area. West End Boulevard is going to have lots of improvements to the streetscape and the medians and connectivity and road diet and bicycle lanes. That project is being led by the city of Detroit, partnering with Henry Ford Hospital, and also will be stewarded public space-wise by our organization.
Melanie Markowicz, Executive Director of Midtown Detroit. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. This is great.
Thanks so much.
Feedback, as always, dailydetroit@gmail.com. And thanks to members like you who keep this show on the air. you can join us as a member on Patreon at patreon.com/Daily Detroit. It is much appreciated. Next up will be Mr. Friday. Devin O'Reilly will join us in the studio. Very much looking forward to it. Until then, I am Jer Stays. Keep warm out there. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk soon.